Greetings, Cliff Bell here. I'm a real estate agent in Napa, California for EO&A and Guide Real Estate. So I'm actually this sort of episode is by when people say don't or when people are worried. And I'll talk about several things. Again, this is contrarian investing. I actually believe in continual investment, but in general, contrarian, I think a little more seriously about doing more. And I actually bought a house in the middle of remodeling it right now. So I'm going to talk about four things. The long trend is up. I did some searches, and this is about Napa, California, so it's a little bit different than other parts of the country, but there's probably some things you can take away as far as ideas about what you can do for your local market. Then I'll talk about fewer buyers equals better negotiations, and correction versus consolidation. I'm going to do some comparisons to 2008 now, and because there's a lot of worries people have. And then leverage buying history. The more you do of this, the more you've been involved in real estate. Just even owning a home and watching the prices helps you get better and better at that. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out. Doesn't cost you anything. And let's just talk about the long-term trend. Well, real estate has been going up for a long time, but you always have the worry that maybe this is that moment when it stops doing that. And so long-term trend is up. There's a shortage of homes in Napa, California, and that's kind of because they have land restrictions, because it is a wine and tourist industry, and the city has restrictions on height, so there's not going to be tall buildings and stuff like that. It just wouldn't work and wouldn't look right in the city. So there's a whole lot of reasons for the long-term trend here to be up. In general, I think that's also true. There's a shortage across the U.S. in homes, so I don't see that abating at any point. There's actually been a reduction in number of housing starts. Again, I'm not an expert across all the world. I have general knowledge and have it's very specific knowledge about Napa, but I watch real estate and been watching and been investing in multiple states. So the other thing is for Napa, proximity to Bay Area. Home prices are significantly below the Bay Area centers like San Francisco, San Jose, and so forth. And remote work is available, so it's not that out of the ordinary for people to live in Napa, work for a company in San Jose, and maybe they have to go to work one day a week or something like that, or once every so often. So it's not that difficult of a challenge, and Napa fits really well. And it's a more relaxing, people who like living in the country, or country-like, I should say, small town. And then there's also this boom in artificial intelligence driving wealth, and it's probably for the next 10 years. And we've seen in San Francisco in the last 2 years, home prices have gone up 10%, which is kind of contrary to a lot of the U.S. So that's the long-term trend here is positive. There's issues in the Napa wine industry itself that they're working through, but those seem to be the next 2 to 3 years. Fewer buyers equals better negotiations, and this is the contrarian, because when everything's appreciating, it's the herd mentality. Oh, if things are appreciating, you got to get into real estate, and people don't mind overpaying because you have to. If you want to get in, you have to pay over, do no conditions, no anything, because somebody else will do no conditions. But when people are worried, they don't spend on big purchases. So it's again, the herd mentality says don't worry, and right now we're in a worry state as far as I can tell. Short-term price pressures scare people about they're losing their savings. It's like next week, not 10 years from now. And the current worries that are driving the market, there are probably others, but here's the ones: higher interest rates than we've had for a while, although they're historically over the last 30 years 6.5% is not the highest we've seen. Inflation has been a worry, although it seems to be under control, but still people are worrying about it because of the war and gas prices and things like that, which is the third one, the war. And how long that's going to go, what's the ramifications, people just don't know. And it's really the lack of knowing that drives both the stock market and in some cases. So when stock market has a bad day, it's usually out of worry. Sometimes there's fundamentals, but not lately. We haven't seen that. Here's the thing. With fewer buyers and longer days on market, and it's not that long, it's historically, but it's longer, the ability is to shop for best value and ask for concessions. I was able to get quite a few concessions on this house because it's this market. And I guess I have to leave you with this question. why wouldn't you buy when you can get a deal? We all do that when we go grocery shopping. We look for the specials, and if it's something we normally eat and it's on special, we'll get that one over some maybe brand that you might perceive as something similar. So, I mean, I hate to equate grocery shopping to home purchasing, but the concepts are the same. We see nothing wrong with doing it in grocery shopping, but when it's housing, we get really scared. And like I say, there's reasons, but I just want to give you that context. The next thing I want to talk about, and again, I'll address the worries more from a real estate, it's a correction versus a consolidation. This doesn't feel like 2008. There was a 20 to 30% price drop during that period. And in 2008, there was an oversupply of homes for sale because lending rules relaxed and people were getting predatory lending. And what that meant was they had variable rates, and all of a sudden they were going up to the market rate, and no one could afford the payments anymore. So you had a whole bunch of people wanting to get rid of their homes because they knew they couldn't afford to keep them and they didn't want to go into default, or they were going into default and the banks were putting them on the market. So a whole huge percentage of the population was doing that. So that was the correction. Today it feels we've been, really 2 years, we've kind of been released. It's been more than that, but really since rates went up, we had a bit of things continued, but they've been, it's been a consolidation in the last couple of years. We've seen somewhere around 2 to 5% price correction. I think the 5% is high, but that might be for certain price points in the market. And it may have been off the peak. And the peak is always usually typically too high, and the bottom is usually typically too low. Many homeowners now have 3% fixed rates and won't sell their home, so inventory is low. The borrowing rules are very strict. Have to have a high credit score, have to have down payment or a good income. So things are well checked, so people are not randomly buying homes. It's a very good quality check. And again, we had a massive run-up prices during the pandemic and so forth when interest rates were really low. So it's not unusual that we're seeing a cooling off period after that massive thing. We always forget when it's going booming, we forget, oh yeah, there's probably going to be a time when it's not going to be like that, and we're in that time. And so I think we're at a return to sort of historical rates. The 6% actually is a reasonable rate we've seen over the years. Leveraged buying history, that would mean all this gray hair. Looking back at my best purchases were when people said don't. Early in the pandemic, people were afraid that, we're all going to die. No one's going to want to buy a house. No one can move because they can't get any renters. Interest rates hadn't fallen yet. But then when they fall, everything took off. And the things when I was chasing interest rates in 2021, those houses have had minimal appreciation, and one of them actually is slightly down. So that's given the current consolidation. It's so I've seen a little bit of drop from the peak. So I got it right before the peak, but it went up, and some of them one has come down a little more than it went up. But low interest means better cash flow for investment properties, or lower payments if you're actually living in the property. So you can kind of go through that. And again, I've owned homes since 1973, I think it was, my first home. And so I've seen the ups and downs of the real estate market. And I remember a 13% interest rate I had in a house. I'm dating myself here, but so the other thing is slowly investing over time. I've continued to invest. I did an ADU. I'm doing this house right now. I think this is actually the time to buy. I was able to get good discounts, but I don't know if it's the bottom or not, but I think it's close. And again, we're starting to see that there's not that much inventory, and if interest rates, if the Iran war and oil prices get under control, and there's been a lot of wealth made in the stock market, I think with opportunities for things going up are greater than they are for it continuing to go down. And again, slow and steady wins over time. Highly recommend you just keep constantly doing investments. So anyway, hope you liked the video. Let me jump to a little bit about me. I just to confirm, I'm a real estate agent with EOA, which is part of a guide, and I'm part of the Place team. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps me out. And this is my closing slide. I'm a real estate agent in Napa, California. I work for EOA. It's part of Guide, Forbes, and we're part of the Place team. So I just want to come clean about all that. There's my real estate number. and my phone number and so forth. Thanks for watching the video.